always have a great time. Yeah, this is my favorite club.
You know, I always, because this isn't really an interview. It's actually called Backstage Bullshit, and that's what it's supposed to be. But Jason, who's our producer, and he's over here right now, says you should ask these guys more questions about, how they, developed or where they're from, and I'm saying this in front of Jason for the first time too. The reason I don't do that is because I feel like most people do a lot of other podcasts.
Yeah.
And in those podcasts and newspaper interview, that's what you get asked. Those are the common questions. So I go, that information's generally out there if someone wants to find it out. Although, I'm not discounting that the listeners might want that happen to listen to this may not know and may be too fucking lazy to go look.
Listen, I never knew that story.
But you did. But you truly did a lot of acting. I came from an acting background into stand-up, and that's what you did.
Right, we talked about that every time. It's
right, but you actually, I got into stand-up so early that I never really went back into messing with acting at all because there was just no real financial drive or anything there. But yet you were able to do a lot of acting in a lot of television shows that people have seen. A lot of network
stuff when I was in LA.
Is there any one acting part that you got in anything like that you would consider to be the one that was the most demanding or the most nerve-wracking or something that you really felt like, I gotta have my shit together for this?
Oh, yeah. I did a lot of like cop roles, army roles. I was always a sergeant or a captain, 3 scenes, 4 scenes. But when I first came back to Florida, I did an independent film called Redneck Roots, and they couldn't find the lead. And I always had these goals. I wanted to be a lead in a film. I wanted to get a guest star, co-star, series regular. I wanted my own sitcom, but I never did. I was never a lead in a film. And this production company in North Carolina sent me a script. I just moved back to Florida from LA. My whole life was in turmoil. Family's breaking up again,
Right.
So I was like, man, this is a lot of dialogue. I'm in almost every scene. And I read the script, and it was a funny script. It was fish out of water, like a New Yorker marrying a country girl. They're getting married in the hometown of the girl. And I read the script, and I did the audition, and like, we want to book you. And I'm like, holy shit. Okay. So it was 30 days or 28 days of straight shooting. And I had to sleep in the producers. They had like a nice finished basement. So I slept there every day. I had 3 days off. It was like, I don't know, what was my schedule? 27 days of shooting. The dialogue, it's just a lot. And you think, and with acting, especially film, and theater is different, but, with film, it's hurry up and wait. So the days can be 12, 15 hours long. And there was a couple of comics in the film. Remember Grandma Lee?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, she was in the film.
Okay.
So she played the redneck girl's grandma.
I gotcha.
And she had never acted before. So it was a couple other comics in the film. And, it was just a lot of stress. I never knew, because I have friends in Hollywood that are lead actors, names. And when you're the number one on the call sheet, that's the pressure.
Sure.
Because everything kind of goes by, like, if the scenes go good, breakdown, setup. So, Billy's done it. Billy's been number one on call sheets for how many sitcoms?
Oh, absolutely.
I've never been number one on a call sheet.
Right.
So I think that was probably the most one of the most rewarding and one of the hardest. Because, then, I like to have a couple drinks, and then, I go after a 13, 14 hour day shooting, I'm having a couple drinks, and holy shit, I got to be up at 6 a.m. And, but it was cool, and the movie's out there and people can see it, but it's, I'm like, yeah, that was.
Where would you find that movie?
You can find it on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Amazon Prime has it, all that. It's Redneck Roots. It's, it's
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's one of those ones where it's got some funny scenes and it's a fun, goofy movie. It's, fish out of water.
Sure.
But like the other ones, doing like the ones in LA where you're only there for 2 days or a day.
Right.
The thing I realized after like my 5th or 6th co-star is that nobody wants to get to know you. Because you're there a day or two and they really don't really want to know you.
Right.
And I've had stories where I was on a show called Dirty Sexy Money. You ever remember that show? It was
it's one of those titles I go, certainly I may have seen it legitimately, and I may have seen it on Pornhub the other day.
Yo, that sounds like
I'm not exactly sure where I caught it, but
that does sound like a Pornhub title. Oh my God, yeah. I don't even know if it lasted 2 seasons or a season, but Kiefer Sutherland's dad, what's his Donald Sutherland, was the lead.
Oh God, yeah.
One of the Baldwins, not Alec, the one under him, Steven,
yes.
So he was there, and you know, I'm in the makeup chair the same time as Stephen Baldwin on this thing, and I'm there 2 days.
Right.
And I'm playing Donald Sutherland's state trooper that watches over me. I had 3 lines in the show.
Got you.
And I'm next to Baldwin in the makeup chair, you know, and I know he's from Massapequa, Long Island. I'm from Selden, Long Island.
Oh, okay.
So I figured, let me throw a shot out here and see if I could chat with this guy while I'm in the makeup chair. I was like, hey, you're from Massapequa? And he goes, he's got his paper, you know. He's like, yeah. And he's reading his paper, and I'm like, what a dick, you know. I'm like, because I said I'm from Long Island too, you know. He goes, oh, good, that's nice, and basically just, you know, and I get it.
Yeah,
you know, but you can be.
Yeah,
we're Long Island boys.
Yes, exactly right. Me and you both can go. I get it,
right.
But on the other hand, if the shoe was on the other foot, if that was Dean Napolitano sitting there, and you had his stature,
yes,
would you have acted that way?
Not once. If he said he was from Long Island, it's just a thing, Long Island. You know, it's like, oh shit, where you from? And so that was it. He just put the paper up and kind of blocked me almost, you know. And I'm like, all right, whatever. You know, I was like, whatever. The makeup girl comes over. Happens to be a makeup girl I worked with on 3 other shows. She says, hey, Dean. And I'm like, hey. She goes, oh, my God, blah, blah, blah. And I used to do the Improv in L.A. and the Laugh Factory. So she goes, you're still doing comedy? You going to be at the Improv anytime soon? Paper comes down. He goes, oh, you're a comedian? Oh, now you want to chat because they all like comedians, you know. Stand-up comedy is that thing where, especially in L.A., you do stand-up, the people want to know, oh, shit, how did you get into that?
Sure.
You know?
I think just about every good performer has a pipe dream to be 100%. A stand-up comedian.
100%.
You know, I know every musician, every famous musician, you know, even semi-famous musician I've ever met, all yes, they would love to be a stand-up comedian. And I go, that's funny because I would love to be a rock star.
Me too. And I tell all my musician friends, same thing. I go, man, if I could trade my stand-up for one talent, it would be to sing and play an instrument.
Yeah. But they're like, but it's so much more work.
Yeah, well, you know.
But ours is so much more risk.
Yes.
You know, that's true.
Yeah,
that's
we're on
true.
an island.
Yeah. We're on an island alone.
They can be background and everyone would be talking through it, but if
if
they're talking,
well, that's the thing. They've got support.
Yes.
You got support all the way around you. With us, it's just us.
You're out
but
there.
We like that.
You love it. It's almost an addiction to be like, I can do this myself, you know. And that's the kind of
that's
thing.
our way of putting up the newspaper.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, you can't do this, but we can. You know, the acting thing was always like. Acting was weird for me. It was never. Comedy's always been that true and tried, perfect partner. Everything seemed to always go right. Where acting was like, you get this. It was like that mistress you could never have, you know, and you just did, you know, it wasn't right for you, but you still wanted to get a little of that mistress. But, and you know, eventually, you know, you just kind of let go of. I still act. You know, I haven't done much lately since I've been caregiving for my dad and stuff. And it's just a different animal.
Well, yeah, I mean. Coming from an acting background into stand-up comedy, you know, we know that, you know, it's you're under somebody else's, you're interpreting somebody else's work,
right?
You know, and then you've got this whole production around you with other people that are depending on you to hit your shit, so they can hit their shit, you know, so and all that, and of course I know. You know, nowadays, so often you hear of movies and even television shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm that are improvised. You have a loose structure. You know what the beginning and the end of the scene is going to be. You have an idea of what the arc is, and you talk it through. Kind of a guideline of a script.
And you know where you have to end up.
Exactly. And then you just kind of go.
Which is a lot of fun.
And you shoot it, you know, however many times doing it this way and that way, which would be fun. But as you know, in theater, of course, there's you don't trip a word. You don't change a conjunction. No, you'll catch shit.
And you go off. The other actor will be like, "Where are you?" And then you lose other actors, like because you try to memorize everybody's part, and you read the whole script over and over, and then you can be free of it, right?
Right.
But when if you miss a freaking line or two, or you skip ahead a scene.
I'd see an actor, and you've seen it too. Especially, and when I was acting, it was college. Which it was a good university, but I did a little bit of pro stuff in summer stock, but that's about it. But still, the discipline is there, and you see so often someone, and I was guilty of doing it. Paraphrase what was actually to be said. You kind of paraphrased it, and that director stop you and go, "Who in the fuck do you think you are? Like who?
Yeah.
Did you write this?
Yeah.
Did you?
That's what they say too.
Did you write this? And so it was just that having to be, and that thing of. I know for me, I was always a character actor and usually didn't have huge parts, But I remember the first play I did that was a lot of lines for me was a play called Death Watch by Jean Genet. And Jean Genet, you ever heard of him?
No.
Jean Genet was a criminal in France, but he was a great playwright. And he actually, the king or whoever the fuck was in charge, got him pardoned out of prison. He was a petty thief type of guy.
Right.
But he was a thief. He was a criminal. Got him pardoned out of prison because he was such an amazing artist. They got his ass out. I think he ended up going back.
Really?
But he wrote this play, Death Watch, that are three guys in a prison cell together. And one guy is on death row. Okay. And he's the badass of the prison, or one of the badasses of the prison. The other guy is his, his bitch, basically. Yeah. And then there's me, who basically is, I'm guessing, is Jean Genet, petty thief, that type of guy. So it's the dynamic of those three. Basically, the badass guy just baits the two of us for fun. Yeah. For fun, and that sort of thing. But there was a lot of lines for all of us.
It's a lot.
And it was like it wasn't like that. You say something and there's a little time. There's pregnant pauses. It's like the dialogue's coming fast and right on top of each other. And at times we're fighting and there's emotions all over the place. And I was like, whew. Man, I barely got through that.
Exhausting.
It was exhausting. And when I got through that play, I went, I have got a long fucking way to go to be a really good professional at this shit. I realized how much I wasn't there.
Yeah, the plays are the harder. It's much harder.
Oh, man.
And because with film and TV, you get, all right, let's do that again. Oh, it was something technical, but on a play, like you're saying, I've only done one play, and it was called Alone at the Beach, and I was brought in late because the lead was 24 years old in Orlando. And I'm like, I don't know. The guy has me read, and he's like, okay, you got the part. Well, that's because you didn't have fucking anybody else take the part. And I see the dialogue. Again, I'm in almost every scene but one. And this is live. This is no screw up. And I am nervous. And 2 days in, I just told him, I said, I don't think I can do this. He's like, no, you can do it.
You can do it.
But the challenge was good, but the nerves and the memorization and this making it look real. And I didn't know shit about acting then, about technique and objectives, which, you take those classes and you absorb what you naturally can, and then you throw everything else out. But yeah, that pressure.
It is. It's to hit your mark and be on it every night.
Yeah.
And to make it fresh every night, like it's never happened before. Yeah. And all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really. I mean, once again, for people who've done it, they get it. Even if it's just community theater, and when I say just community theater is just as demanding. Yeah, absolutely it is.
People are serious about it.
Hell yeah, they are.
And when someone's phoning it in, just like comedy.
Oh yeah.
You've seen comics phone it in where you're like, are you going to put anything into this?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I remember because I did. that's what got me into performing was I fluked into the theater department at University of Memphis, and I just felt like I've got a knack for this.
Yeah.
And I was in a main stage play quickly, and I was meeting people who had been in the department for a couple of years who had yet to be in a main stage play.
Okay, so
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But in 2.5 years, I was in about 20 plays.
Wow.
Back to, and sometimes 2 plays at one time, back to back to back to back
That's
to
a lot.
back. It was a lot, but it was great. I mean, you're just immersed in the whole thing, you know. But I remember one of the first was a play called Santa Fe Sunshine by Carson McCullers. And so I had one of the main roles. And so the review comes out, and it says I was wooden. Wooden.
That hurts.
And I thought I was nailing it. I said wooden.
That's even
I was
worse.
like, wooden. And, you know,
That's not good.
and, you know, I don't know, I was about 22 years old at the time. So I went to my director, who was a friend of mine, who was my mentor, the reason I'm here today, Keith Kennedy. I went, Keith, he said I was wooden. He goes, you are. I went,
shit.
well, fuck. I said, why didn't you tell me I was wooden? He goes, what good would that have done? He goes, look, Les, I know where you're at. I know where all you students are at in your development.
Right.
He goes, for me, he goes, you did all right.
Yeah.
He said, you did fine at where you're at. For, you know, at where you're
makes
at,
sense,
at your learning, where you're at. You've been doing this for a certain amount of time. He said, but if I tried to tell you you were wooden and you needed to do this, I mean, you don't have the chops yet to even take in what I'm saying, and then much less adjust to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you're at this stage, and you know, you'll get better. And so I was like, so you just let me be fucking wooden. and of course, the review comes out, you still got like 10, 12 more wooden-ass performances. You know, I'm out there trying to be like a noodle.
People,
you know, they go, what's up with Les? He's literally like a pimp out there now. I said, I'm trying to loosen up.
Yeah. Well, if he would have said that to you during rehearsals, it might have got in your head and messed with you, which what he was thinking, because you weren't at that
Well, that's what you're saying.
point yet.
You don't have an understanding yet to take that kind of direction and do anything with it that would have really been beneficial for you.
Yeah.
You know.
I had an acting teacher once here. It was actually in Florida before I moved to LA. He was like, he would tell you, he could see when each actor, and he was Paul Bankston was his name. He was a producer in LA forever. And he would tell you, you know, when you did, you just jumped up a level today. You know what I mean? Like, you could see that you were moving up a level in your absorption of the material, how you're delivering it, you know. And then when I got to California, and that freak show was like the Jim Joneses, man. You're drinking the Kool-Aid of these big things. I was in, and she was an excellent instructor, Ivana Chubik, and she was like adopted like Uta Hagen from, you know what I mean, all the old.
That was my first acting book. Was
Okay, Uta Hagen,
book.
Yeah. And I'm coming in there, stand-up comic, a couple acting classes from Florida, and you know, you got these actors, and I'm like, holy shit. And you know, I watch every class, and I'm seeing, you know, people that today now are pretty famous that were in this class, and you just see the mini objectives, you know, what's, you know, your substitutions, and I'm going, this is some heady shit, man.
I remember we had my third semester of acting was nothing. All we did was monologues. All we did was monologues and dialogues from Chekhov, Anton Chekhov. Now, Chekhov. Stay awake during Chekhov, baby. I mean, you know,
on the bridge,
good Lord. But the thing about Chekhov is, if you're not genuine, if you're not genuine and sincere and really rooted in that character, and you're not at an ability where you can really just talk like we are now, and it's convincing that everything's in the moment and everything, it doesn't play. But you got to be really good, you know, for that to hang. And so that's the reason we're doing nothing but fucking Chekhov. And I remember our acting teacher, for all of us, it's like 1,000 times a day. Stop, just talk. Stop, just talk. Just talk. And we're like, we are just talking. No, you're not. You're acting. You're acting like you're talking. But just talk. And I remember there were 3 of us doing a little scene, and we finished, and she goes, "Well, there you go." And we were all like, "Did we talk?"
Yeah, you feel like,
yeah, you talked. Good for you. You just talked. We were like, "Oh."
And
God.
when it's done, it's like you feel like you. Sometimes I felt like when you did those scenes where you were so in it, you don't even remember it when you're done.
Oh yeah.
Because you're just so in the moment.
You just fell.
I know those. And it's those different styles I got when I was in that, and I found a Chubby's class with all that way we were learning. The guy from ER, Eric LaSalle, you remember him?
Sure.
So he would substitute teach for Ivana, and I don't think I've ever told this story on a podcast. So he would substitute teach, and I was in the main class, the higher up class, and then I'd go watch the lower classes. So he was teaching one of those, and he comes in and he did a little different than her, and he had this exercise before class would start. He would say, "Okay, everybody's in this class, come up to the stage," and she had a nice studio. And they'd go up on the stage, and he would look at them, and the people that weren't in the class watching, just observing just to watch the scenes. He'd look at the class the people were in, and he'd go, "Make the audience laugh." Weirdest exercise I've ever seen. And I'm like, oh man, as a comic, I know. So he goes, and they're like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, make a funny face, and if they laugh, you sit down." So these people are all going, right? Finally, there's one person left. And everybody, this guy's trying to do everything he can just to sit the fuck down, and he can't. And finally, this poor guy looks. I mean, it was sad. Finally, he goes, "All right, sit down." So fast forward, he's doing a scene, and this is the thing like about acting normal, just talking. This Irish actor is up there, guys. I think he's from Ireland, and he's doing a scene from Othello. Okay, and he's got the Irish accent. So he's doing the scene, and Eric LaSalle was was it Juilliard? Is Juilliard the big school? Yeah, Juilliard grad. So the guy knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And he's talking about pantamic, what is it called?
Pantamic, iambic pentameter,
right.
I believe.
Iambic pentameter, that's it. So this poor guy's in the Irish accent is doing Othello. He'd stop. All right, hold on. He goes, "You sound so Shakespearean. This is 2 guys in the street. Just talk. These are guys that know each other, blah, blah, blah." And then everybody in the audience is like, all right. So that's the first time. Poor guy starts up again on the monologue. He's doing a monologue. All right, I got to stop you again. And now you're still like, holy shit, tells him the same thing again. I don't know what to tell you. He goes, "I'm telling you, you got to talk to him like, you guys are buddies and this and that. And it's like if I was in the street, one of my homies, whatever the hell he said." Poor bastard goes into the 3rd try. He stops him again, like frustrated. He goes, "I don't even know." He goes, I don't know what to tell you. And he looks at the class and the observers. He goes, "Class, what can he do to sound less Shakespearean?" And of course, as a comic, I can't. I go, and I got a hood on. It's freezing in the studio. I go, "Lose the accent," and the place erupts. Right? They're all thinking it. Everyone's thinking it. So, and I'm sitting next to my buddy Kenny Choi, who's a pretty well-known actor now. He's in a ton of stuff. He's on Third Watch. We were pretty good buddies then. And Eric LaSalle goes, "Lose the accent." All right, funny, but no, not the right answer. Right? So I'm like, fuck. So now he goes like this, "Who said that?" So I'm like, oh shit. I raise my hand. He goes, "Come on up here." So I'm like, uh-oh. Like I felt like I was back in 8th grade or 5th,
Sure.
So I walk up to the front of the class. He looks at me. He goes, "Eric LaSalle." I go, "Dean Napolitano." He goes, "All right, Dean. Lose the accent, huh? Funny. Yeah, it's funny." He sits down. He goes, "Make the class laugh." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, you just met your challenge." So my buddy Kenny, after the class goes, he turned to the guy next to me. He goes, "LaSalle just bought a knife to a gunfight." And my buddy's a comic. So I had this new bit about handshakes, like when it went from the triple handshake to just the fist.
Right.
So I just wrote this bit about like I shook a guy's fist and it was like paper covers rock and this.
Right.
I was doing this and it was killing. And so I do the whole bit. Everybody in the class is dying. I mean, a minute in, and you see LaSalle like this. "All right, go sit down." And I said, "Hey, just like you went to Juilliard, I went to every shitty bar in Florida and had to do a show." And that's the one lesson I learned was like, in that what comedy does for us as stand-ups, because we're thrown to the wolves every day.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely, absolutely.
He told Ivana, like after they came back, he goes, "Yeah." ends up telling their story. A year later, I just go visit the class. I'm not in anymore. Say hi to Ivana, and they're talking about that night. And Ivana goes, yeah, it was Eric doesn't do that exercise anymore because one of the students like went up and the guy was a comedian and just made everybody laugh. I go, Ivana, that was me. She's like, that was you? It was like a hilarious story, but you know.
Never challenge. Well, he didn't know you were
He didn't know.
And that's the most beautiful thing in the world,
It
to be
was-
set up in something like that.
Oh, man.
You know, it's like, you know, when you said earlier the guy was standing up there last and he couldn't come up with
Couldn't come up with anything.
And the guy goes, go have a seat.
Yeah.
And he could have gone, on your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what we would have thought.
Would have been a huge
of,
laugh.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? You know, well, that was, I had a offshoot story, but Pam and I were at, my wife, we were at Universal Studios, and we'd walked into this, it was a redoing of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho scene.
Oh,
The
yeah.
killing, and it was, you know, it was to show how scenes are done, da 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 da. So it was one of those.
remember that. Yeah,
so,
yeah,
you know, so the people all come into a front room.
Right.
Then they explain what's going to happen, and then you go and they act it out. So they get they get two volunteers, one to be the girl who's being killed, one to be
Psycho.
The psycho.
Yeah.
So
You got the Psycho?
they come up. I'm the first one in, and they come up to me and they just said, "You're our volunteer." And Pam's like, "You don't want to do that."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, he's our volunteer."
You're going to get the performance.
You know, you ever been in front of a crowd before? I'll be all right. And so Pam's shaking her head. So we get up and they get everybody in. They tell them what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And they go, here's our two volunteers. And they bring the girl up, you know, and I was going to do that. And here's the guy that's going to be our psycho.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself. And of course, easiest in the world.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Les McCurdy and I'm an alcoholic. Oh, wrong meeting? Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody started laughing. Blah, blah, blah. So then we're walking back. We're walking back to the back to me to go in the back, and the guy goes, "That was really funny." I go, "I'm a comic." He goes, "Will you do this straight? Like, will you do this straight?"
Yeah.
Like, I go, "Yes, I'll do what I'll do what I'm supposed to do. I won't, fuck it
Won't
up.
mess you up.
And so he goes, "Okay." So I go back. They put me in the granny dress and the wig, and they give me a butcher knife. And so the actors in the back did not know what I had done up front.
Right.
They did not know. Everybody that worked in the back part. So the guy they get them all in, the host comes out and says, "All right, we're going to react things. Let's bring out our volunteers, right?" So they bring out the girl, she comes out, and then they bring me out. It's the first time they've seen me in the wig and
Right.
things. So they're supposed to get a laugh. So I walk out, everybody kind of chuckles. And some woman in the audience goes, "He's an alcoholic." And I went, "Shut up, mother. Why can't you let me have just one moment of my own, for God's sakes?"
Oh, my God.
And everybody's just dying. And the guy is standing there. He don't know what the fuck is happening.
Oh, he's
right?
like, I'm screwed.
Yeah. But it was
That is hilarious.
then I went on and just killed the girl.
Yeah.
But, that's where you accidentally, inadvertently put a
Screw
stand-up
up the whole-
comic
yeah.
in the middle of something,
And that lady in the audience is waiting to yell
Oh,
at.
God, yeah.
hell
He's
yeah.
an alcoholic.
He can't handle it.
No way.
Man.
Oh, that's something else,
Too funny, man. The acting thing is just like, I don't know. One time I was doing a casino in Milwaukee, and you as an actor, you always want to get the next. That's the weird thing. It's like with acting, it's always in someone else's hands. Your next
Yes.
job,
Yeah.
a director, a writer, a producer.
Absolutely.
Whereas comedy, if you're working and you do your stuff and you get in with a club and you're good and it's all up to you.
That's right.
So with acting, and sometimes if you know somebody, you might be able to get an acting part because you're friends with the producer. I was doing, I was in Potawatomi Casino in Milwaukee, and Kevin Costner's band is playing, right?
Sure.
And a pretty good little band, the Red Slider, whatever band. And he's there in the green room, and I'm the comic opening up. So he's about to do some new thing about the Japanese concentration camps he's producing. And I love Kevin Costner. When I saw Dances with Wolves in high school, and he directed, wrote, produced, I was like, I want to be that. I thought like that's the goal.
Sure.
So you're in control.
Sure.
So I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be in the same green room with him. I'm 30.
Good goal to be Kevin Costner.
Oh man, come on. Got a couple good shows going on. I'm like almost 40,
Right.
So he's there, and he comes up, and they introduce me to him. I'm like, hey, how are you? And he goes, good. He goes, so you're an actor too, huh? I'm like, holy shit. I go, yeah. He goes, yeah. So he did some stuff on, whatever. I go, yeah. I go, I get a lot of. I go, I just did another role as a fireman on a show, and my dad was like, another fireman? He goes, yeah, they don't get it. He's like, yeah. My grandma used to say the same thing to me. So we're kind of hitting it off a little. And he goes, and we're talking and we're kind of laughing. And I told him, I said, I got to tell you, when I was younger, you were like, so I'm having this moment. I never do this with anybody. Like, you meet a lot of celebrities, it's just another person.
Sure.
But in the back of my head, I'm thinking acting role.
Of course.
I mean, he's a producer, and he's got the power. So he goes, I'm doing this new series I'm working on now, and it's just him and I talking in the green room. He goes, it's about the Japanese concentration camps in World War II. I'm like, oh. And I don't remember exactly what it was because I think I went into a blackout after I was frustrated. He looks at me, and we're talking, and I got the New York accent, and Long Island, and he goes, yeah. And he goes, and it's about, there's a scene, he says to me. He goes, there's a scene where this army jeep rolls up, and they're putting wire up on my ranch to hold the Japanese. And it's a whole big thing. He wanted to tell this whole story. And he's the ranch owner. So when the jeep rolls up with the army symbol, this guy gets out, and he's a New York Italian, and he's putting up the stuff, and he goes, and my character rides up and says, hey, this is my ranch. The dialogue ensues, and he says, well, this is property of the U.S. Army right now. We're having this. He says, like hell it is, and the dialogue goes, and then Costner's character knocks out the guy because there's a scuffle. So I'm like, oh, yeah. He goes, yeah, and it's a really nice scene. He goes, he looks at me, he goes, man, he goes, you'd be perfect for it. And as an actor, I'm like, fucking finally it happened. I cannot believe it took this long in my head. And I'm like, wow. And he goes, I just need you at 24 years old.
Ah.
I was like, you motherfucker. And I was like, oh. All right, well, I'm not 24. Yeah, I'm like.
Makeup.
And he's an actor. And I'm like, dude, if you were in my position, would you ever do that to another actor? Like, and I was so pissed, and I was supposed to be clean that night before him. Yes. And I was so pissed off. I went out and I was saying fuck and shit before his thing, and it was all his people. And I could tell. I walked in after I think I did 25 minutes. I got the look from like the band. They were like, oh, that wasn't good. I mean, they didn't want to see me. They were waiting for him.
Sure.
End of the night, his handle was like, hey, did you want to get a picture with Kevin? I go, no, I'm good. And this is when I came up with the line. It was like a Costanza moment. I was like, I should have said, no, actually, if it was when he was in the Dances of Wolf Times, yeah, but nah, not right now. He's too fucking old.
He's too old, yeah. But maybe when he was 25.
Yeah, that's what I should have said. You know what? I need the 25-year-old Kevin Costner.
I need 25-year-old Costner.
This old bastard now, no.
It's a cool business, baby.
It really is.
It is.
It's like.
Yeah, ain't no pity in the old naked city.
I tell you there ain't.
That's right.
Man.
That's right. Well, and we'll finish up. I was sitting there watching The Last Waltz last night. The band, and they had those cuts where they were talking about getting there,
Yeah.
And that was that thing Robbie Robertson was talking about. He goes, they were sitting there just telling all the hell stories.
Yeah.
All the hell stories that, we got here, but all the fucked up shit and all the times you were treated like shit. And all the times that you were they threw the carrot in front of you and just dangled it right there, knowing that they were going to pull it away, knowing the whole time that they were going to pull it away, just to fuck with you. Because I don't know, but
it is. It's loosely with the football, right?
Well, it's like the one guy said. The guy, one of the band, would just go, "Hey man, that's the way it is in this business. When you're a performer, you go in. Always leave on Helm. He goes, you go in, you get your ass kicked. First time we went to New York, we went in, we got shit kicked out of us. You go home, you bandage up your wounds.
Yep.
You go back and start practicing again to know what you're going into next time.
Right.
To hopefully you'll go in there and not get your ass kicked quite as bad.
Because
second time, and then eventually you go in and kick ass.
Right. That's actually a really good way to put it.
It is.
It's
thanks, man.
Thanks, Les. I love you guys. You guys are always great to me, man, and I'm always happy to be here.
Always a pleasure. Okay.